All right, Brent.
Hey, Justin, what's
Excited.
happening?
Doing good, man. Excited to finally get to talk to you. I've heard a lot about you. I've seen a lot of success coming through with the media buyers kind of working on your end.
Yeah,
So thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
yeah, glad to be here.
So, so yeah, absolutely. So yeah, let's just kind of dive right in.
Sure,
So,
sure.
you're with the company. You're one of the co-founders of Maverick.
Yep.
Maverick with three eyes. You were telling me
Three
right
eyes.
before we kind of started this. So,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
said Maverick.
yeah.
Marketing agency, branding agency. Walk me through that. What that looks like.
Yeah, marketing agency, really performance agency for HVAC. We do some plumbing and electrical, but really HVAC because of the industry and the growth in that industry and how many uh, you know um, clients are potentially fighting for space in that industry. So
Okay. And so, how
yeah.
did you
And the
guys
ticket
like?
value is high, right? So the ticket value is really
Right,
high.
right.
Yeah.
And how long have you had the marketing agency, Maverick?
So my partner Tommy and I started in with the. It's been there for 3 years, but we came and partnered with it about a year ago.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and
Um,
it was all about coming into scale, bringing our technology in, and scaling it up.
so
So
you and your partner 3 years ago, or you came into an existing agency? What does that look like?
came into an existing agency. They
Okay.
were using our technology and said, "Hey, we're getting a lot of clients. It's doing really well, but we're at our ceiling about how we do it." And we knew how to bring systems in, right, and help scale it. So we're excited about it because there's a tremendous growth potential for this company
Okay. And in the HVAC. And then what area are you just in the States, or are you
in the
going?
states. Yep.
Okay. So
Maybe
is it
down the
all
road
over?
we'll get international. I don't think we need to, but yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. Is it like the southern states, or is it more of the warmer states? What does that look like?
Yeah, all over the map, and you just we change our campaigns per as the seasons change, right?
That makes
In the
sense.
southern states, obviously, we run a lot more AC
Hmm.
than furnaces, but right now up north, we're still running a lot of furnace deals. But
Okay.
again, um, we're getting into a lot of the nitty gritty of the seasons changing, right? As they
Okay.
call it, shoulder season, right? It's when you go from heating to AC.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
everybody in the middle of the country is probably in that.
Yeah, man. I live in Florida, and it's like I maybe like once or twice turn the heater on, and it's weird because it's got that weird smell that kicks on, and I
Yeah,
miss
yeah, oh
those
yeah,
AC companies. Yeah.
yep.
So
Yeah, we've
I
learned a
always
lot about the industry. So, and that's one of the keys. If you're going to niche down, you got to know the industry.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So I always love to hear a story of like how you guys got into business, right? So you have the marketing agency, right? So how did you get into, 3 years ago? How did you get into that space?
So I'll tell you. So we own a very unique technology, all right, and this is kind of how we got into this. So we own, and again, we could do this on another video sometime. Talk to you about. We own identity resolution, meaning we can kind of unmask anonymous traffic, and
Yeah.
so we use that right to feed it back into algorithms at different ad platforms. So we sell that, right, and we were selling that, and one of our agencies came and started telling us about 3 years ago, hey, we're using the data into HVAC and we're doing really well, and we were monitoring that. And at one point, one of our other partners came in and we were doing some stuff for Grant Cardone's team, and they were telling us that they're in HVAC, and we were like, wait a minute, right? Like we're
I
missing
remember
something.
seeing some stuff, them
Yeah,
doing
so
like,
there was
yeah.
something here, right? And they were like Grant's team was into like 25 different verticals, but HVAC was very high on the list. And so we got talking to a lot of people. Well, this agency came back that's buying our technology and said, "Hey, we're really, really doing well. Like we're getting our clients, 7, 10, some of our clients 20 times return on their investment." And we're like, wait a minute, we need to take a look at this, right? Because we always wanted to get into, as a test bed for our technology into a single vertical. And anyway, long story short, we started talking to them, and they said, "Hey, we need some help. We have like I don't know 25 or 30 clients, and we it's taken everything we can or all of our bandwidth to just service them right the way they were doing things." And they said, would you
Mhm.
guys be interested in partnering with us? And we said, yeah, let us take a look, right? Maybe, maybe not. Once we started looking into it, we were like, wow, we could accelerate this and take this from, 25 clients to 250 clients overnight. And we know we
Just
can.
on the operation side or on like the
Yeah.
marketing and sales side?
Operation and the marketing side. So we knew
Okay.
we could get a scalable team, right? This was a small agency, right? Two, three people and some contractors. And they were like, hey, we don't
And
have the SOPs and we don't have all the systems.
when you say agency, marketing agency?
Marketing agency.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
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 Just
Okay.
doing lead gen for HVAC companies, right?
Okay. So overnight, you kind of said like, "Hey, we could definitely scale this up." So sorry, I
Yep.
didn't mean to
And that
interrupt
was
you.
about a year ago,
Okay.
right? And so we systematically, you know, diagnosed every part of the business and started to put in systems, reporting on the back end. We put fulfillment right in. So we have a big media team now that can, you know, scale beyond belief. Um, we have a conversion rate optimization person on staff. Like we put all the things in place, client success team, onboarding team, and then and then we've been working with Conversionly to put the acquisition system on the front end, right? And look, we know how to run ads, we know how to do this, but that's not the point of scaling this thing because I want to be able to put this thing in place and be able to step away, right?
Yeah.
Because we could do this in other areas as well. So we want, our whole thing is systems. And to us, Conversionly had the front end acquisition system that we were looking for. And
Mhm.
we, like I said, I told you before, we couldn't be happier.
That's awesome. Yeah, we'll dive into that in a second. I think your point is good though, in the way that you think about business. Like all those things that you said are
Mhm.
things that real businesses have, right? Now,
Absolutely.
what a lot of people do is they think of entrepreneurship or business ownership as just doing, and a lot of times they don't think about like building a true business. It's almost
Right.
like they were doing the exact same thing as they were doing at the company that was paying them. They're just doing it for themselves,
Right.
right?
Right.
So there's like three layers to that, right? It's like the employee, and then it's like the like small business owner where you're doing the exact same thing, you're just doing it for yourself. And then there's
Exactly.
like the entrepreneurship or like the true business owner where you're hiring people, you're building teams, and then you're like leveraging their time versus your time. And like you
Absolutely.
said, that
Couldn't agree
allows
with
you
you
to kind of
more.
step away and let it scale.
Yep.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree with you more. And we looked at every aspect of the business very simplistically too, right? From acquisition, right, to bringing a client on, onboarding, right, getting clients results, and then meeting with them every week the first month, and then every month after that, right, to go over their
Yeah.
results, right? Because again, I don't want to go get a new customer if I can keep that customer happy. And I got to tell you, Justin, we've had clients, and again, this was pre us, but haven't left because of the results. They haven't left in 3 years. Like
That's awesome. That's where
again, you
advertising.
don't see that in the agency world, right? That's what
Yeah.
got our attention is wow, right? And a lot of it was, some of it was our data and tech, but I think it's a combo of everything, right? If you take care of the client, but you are also aware of the lift that you're giving their business, then you can turn this into a performance agency, and that's kind of what we've done.
Okay. Yeah. Walk me through that, like the performance agency, like
Yeah,
kind of detail that
yeah,
out a little bit.
yeah. And this will go into when we talk about our front acquisition, but we guarantee a 10x ROI on our program, right? So we
That's awesome.
offer, and again, we have tiers that they can climb the ladder with us, but we start out at, we have a downsell package at 7,500, but we hardly ever sell it. It's really our standard package is 15K, and we don't charge our clients again until they get 150,000 in revenue. And we have a reporting tool that does that, right? Yeah, we didn't start there, but we got enough clients and we saw the success, and we tied into the back end of their CRM so we could show all the results we're getting, and we're like, wow, we're easily getting a 10x ROI for all of our clients. Why wouldn't we just offer it to all of our new clients? And
Yeah.
so that's kind of how our whole offer, came to be. Does that make
I think
sense?
no, 1000%. Yeah. And I think the offer is such a big factor when you're talking about sales and marketing,
Yeah.
right? And client acquisition. Really, there are only, six ways that you can get new clients, right? That's
Right.
your own list, paid ads, affiliates, content, cold outbound, and referrals,
And referrals.
right?
Yeah.
a lot of people, they start off with like referrals and word of mouth, and
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
maybe
and
they put
that's
up a
how
website.
this company started, right? That's how they started. That it was
Yeah,
basically that they found a coaching group that passed them referrals, and they took care of their clients, right? That was the number one
yeah,
thing. But you're right. After that, that's not how you scale. You have to be able to convert cold traffic, right, into paying
exactly.
customers.
Exactly. If you want to go from that level of, okay, I'm working for a company, and then now you go to start a business and you're really doing the same thing but for yourself. And if you want to go to a business owner where you're like scaling the team, like you're scaling and like leveraging out things to your team, then it really comes down to like those other factors, right?
Yep.
Most of all those other ones are, like your own list, that takes time. Like
Right.
affiliates, if you're doing products, that makes sense. Cold outbound, that's okay if you're just starting out and you don't have money, but it's a pain in the butt to scale. Like
Really
the
pain.
yeah, exactly. And I'm sure you and a lot of people watching this have maybe tried to do that. Now, what we found though is like the paid ads is the easiest one to scale. Now, the way that people kind of go about this is they just put up an ad, they put up an offer. They don't really understand the offer part of it, right? So there's kind of two things you're looking at there. One is like the offer of the ad to try to get them to click, and then
Right.
like the funnel and the process to actually get them to meet. Like, so if you have a really good, like the way that you write the copy, your creative's awesome, they click the ad and they're like, hey, I want to talk to Brent about this thing. Right. That's how
Yep.
you generate appointments. And then it comes down to like your sales offer. That's number two. Like
Right.
your sales offer is fantastic. And
Yep.
that's how you close deals. Now, what a lot of people don't understand is like how big of a deal that offer is. Not only in step one is like
Massive.
actually generating the lead in the appointment, but then closing the sale.
Yeah.
Right. So you guys
No,
have done a really good job there.
no doubt, Justin. And what we thought is, and again, for everybody listening, the thing that you have to understand is if you're gonna, most people are gonna start on social media, right? On Meta, Facebook, Instagram, to run their ads, right, for acquisition. And if you understand the way Facebook works, is every third ad now is a funnel, right? It's an ad. Or, I mean, every third part of your news feed is an ad, right? So how are you going to
Mm,
stand out in that feed? You have to be able to catch someone's attention, right? And it's not just this great headline; it's the offer has to back it up.
right.
And otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels and wasting your money. And so for us, like, we went through a painstaking process even before, we came to you guys, and then you helped us refine it even further.
Hmm.
And your framework was really instrumental in us thinking through about how we can make some tweaks to it. But, um, you know, we also did a lot of competitor research and just, what's everyone else in this space offering? And, how can we make sure that we stand out, that people at least take notice and they want to have a conversation with us?
Yeah. Yeah. And as you should do that offer research.
Yeah.
Right. And I think, when you're thinking about scaling, you're actually starting to get into paid ads. Like, to your point, like the first place people do start is on Facebook and Instagram. And it should be. And that's what we recommend, is that's probably the easiest one to scale. It's a little easier to target people. It's easier to get the creatives and the graphics and stuff like that. Then you can go, like, obviously, once you have those ads down, what you're really looking for though is like after someone clicks, that whole process on the back
Yes.
end, right?
Amen.
Like so there's really three ways, like when you're doing paid ads, that people book appointments on your calendar, right? Number one is like self booking, right? They click
Right.
the ad, they go through the funnel, and then they just find the calendar and then they book themselves. Those are the
Right.
easiest. Those are like
Yep.
what everyone wants.
Yep.
Then the second layer is having a system, because this is where everyone drops the ball, like almost across the board, is having a system that sends follow-up messages and actually follows up with those people who go through the funnel just a little bit but actually don't complete and book an appointment,
Yep.
i.e. the follow-up, right? So like
Yep.
automated messages and emails and phone calls and stuff like that. And then the third way is having someone dedicated to that process to actually go over a little bit more of the line of kind of being aggressive and calling within 5 minutes and
Yep.
making sure you give like responses within a timely manner, and then following up at least 6 times. If you're doing all three of those things, that's how you can get to the highest booked appointment rate as possible when you're running paid ads.
Absolutely. And, and the thing that resonated with us so much about when we were looking for that client acquisition system, when we found you guys, and we were evaluating is, and I think you have a tear sheet of all the stats, right? The best day
Mhm.
to call, all the different ways of communicating. And I think what people don't understand about how things have changed is not everybody wants to be on the phone. So the
Right.
ability to give them multiple ways to communicate, whether it's text, it's self, like you said, self booking. You have to give the user or the potential future client the options, right, and meet them where they're at. And today, that's not just meeting them with an email, right? It's email, it's text, it's phone, right? And we're adding a chat widget, like we want to give them any and all options to communicate, to book a call with us.
Yeah, and you should. So, like
Yeah,
an example, like phone, text message, email, like all of that stuff, DM, Facebook, like whatever it is,
yeah,
you should do all of those things because for me, like my email inbox, I'm not checking that every single moment of the day, right? I have my
amen. Me
text
neither.
messages, right? I have my text messages, like obviously those come out, but like my from 9 to 5 p.m., I have what's called a do not disturb feature on. So I'm not going to get any of that stuff. Right. However, I do check my DMs often because that's how a lot of people message me. So that would be the way to communicate with me. Some people may not have their phone or their text or like next to them, but they check their email like every 5 minutes. So that may be the way to message them.
Yep,
Now, going back to my
yep,
original point though, is normal people, like normally people start off with Facebook and Instagram. And then once
yeah,
you figure out that whole back end to
yep,
hit the KPIs that you need to hit to book on like those appointments, then you go into like different platforms like TikTok or YouTube or something like that. However, those
100%.
have their own specific nuances, right?
Right.
YouTube,
But
a
they
little
all
bit
need
more
that
production,
follow up system.
longer.
So,
And
yeah,
yes, you're just putting more people into the funnel that has that whole back end.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Without the
100%.
back end, you're just throwing money down. You're lighting money on fire, right? Like it's
Right.
crazy not to have that back end and maximize that at every step. And again, I go back to when we first met you guys, is the breakdown that you had of how you analyze every step and how we track, measure, and improve each of those things in the back end. Because once you do that, then we just keep adding channels on the front, right? Filling the top of the funnel. And
100%.
that's what is missing from so many uh, you know other people's systems or courses or anything. Like they don't understand that whole back end, because that's where the gold is. And it goes back to Justin, the tactics of marketing change, right?
Yeah.
As we improve technology and we improve things, like automations, right, that we have in this system are phenomenal, right? They didn't exist before, but the thing that doesn't change are the marketing principles, and that's what resonated with us. With again, when Tommy and I were talking, is they're like, look, half of the booked appointments come in the 7th to 12th touches. Well, you read any old school marketing book, and that's exactly right. From 7 to 12 is when the magic happens, and most salespeople and marketing people stop between 3 and 4 touches. And we
Yeah.
wanted a system that made sure that we communicated far enough that we maximized every dollar and every lead that came through. Because we also know that our market is finite, right? So we have there's 125,000 HVAC companies out there, and I'm going to market to them. They're going to see us multiple times. I don't. If someone's raising their hand, the last thing I want to do is miss that.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot of people drop the ball just in that. Like they'll run ads and their follow up and the second and the third layer that I was just talking about, right? The
Yeah.
the system and the automations, and then like someone like, and then you can get to someone like an appointment setter who's like following up very
Yep.
regularly with those people. And then, and
Yep.
to your point, like it's very finite, 125,000, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, especially after COVID, there's a lot of people trying to start their own business. So there's new like
All the
HVAC
time.
companies that are starting, right? So it's
Yep.
almost replenishing itself. And so, walk me through where you guys were right before we started working with you. Like, what were your big pain points, your headaches, and those
So
things that you were struggling with?
we were running. We had built a funnel, right? And we had built our what we call the 10x blueprint, which is kind of like a lead magnet. And we were starting to scale our ads up. And I said, here's the problem that we have is that we don't have the back end system, right? I think we had an email system with maybe 10, 12 emails written, but not well thought out, because
Yeah.
we were, like I said before, we were working on all the other parts of the business, getting ready to turn the faucet on the acquisition. And I think we were probably a little arrogant in the beginning, because we know how to run ads, but I don't want to do it, right? And I don't want to do it wrong. And I know that we can run ads, but we didn't have the whole system, and we knew we didn't have the whole system. So we went and, probably different than some of the folks that are seeing you guys from the ads. I went and searched for a acquisition system that had all the pieces we knew we were missing.
Yeah.
And so we were getting a lot of referrals in, because we had found 3 other coaching networks that we could bring in. So we weren't hurting for bringing in referral business, but it's not how you scale. I'm not going to get the 300 clients, 500 clients through referrals, right? We
And
knew that,
nobody is.
but it
And
was
nobody is.
keeping us, our cash flow coming in enough to where we had, I would say, probably, 3 to 5 clients coming in a month, right? It's not a ton at our level, right? It's still a lot of cash, but it's not, the where I think we could do, 2 to 3 a day, right? I know we can. And so that's kind of where we're on pace now, is that we're on the ramp up of that. But back before we met you guys, that's kind of where we were, and we knew that we weren't taking advantage of more than email. We didn't even have a text follow up campaign in, and we
Yeah.
certainly we were looking for setters, right? So we were interviewing setters through a hiring agency, but we knew that it wasn't coordinated, and that's why we kind of put a stop. And then that's when I went searching and found you guys.
Yeah, yeah. One thing I will say about the setters is normally what we see is it's usually a systems and a person's process,
Yep.
right? So if someone's just looking for a setter, it's like I had a conversation with a guy earlier today, and he's like, "Hey, man, I'm just looking for an appointment setter." And I was like,
Not
"Okay,
how it
well,
works.
like what's like systems and stuff?" He was like, "No, no, no, no. I just want like someone just to fill appointments on my calendar." And I was like, "Okay, well, what's like? Do you have a process for them to follow?" No, no, I don't think you hear me. I'm just looking for an appointment setter. I'm like, I mean,
That's
okay,
someone
like
that's going to fail.
yeah, there's always a bad way, a good way, and a best way to do things,
Right.
right? And so we've like I've done all the bad things, and
Oh, well, I
I've
have
spent
too, so I know.
there's been a lot of money in just trying to figure all this out. Like when I had my first business, and so like normally what we see is it's usually a people and a process problem, right? So
Yeah.
like the analogy that I like to give is if you had like the best race car driver in the world, like Dale Earnhardt back in his day, and
Right.
you put him into Honda Civic, he's not winning the Daytona 500.
Exactly.
Right now, if you get like the fastest race car, most souped up, like the top notch thing, and you bring like one of those fans or someone who doesn't really know how to race cars, and you put them in the Daytona 500, like they're probably not going to win many races either, right?
No.
And where
They'll
you're
do
getting
better than the
yourself
Civic, but not much better.
yeah, and if
Yeah.
you're getting yourself where if you want to put yourself in the best situation where for success, you get the best race car driver and you get the best system,
Yep.
right? Or a really good race car driver and a really good system. It doesn't have to be the best, but you get what I'm saying, right? So,
Yep.
a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, I'm just looking for a setter," I'm like, "Okay, let's have a conversation about that because the system definitely plays a part in that." So, what have you guys tried before, like working with Conversionally? Like, what did you try? What didn't work? Kind of walk me through that.
Yeah, so we hired an agency, because I told you before, Justin, I didn't want it to have to be. I'm not running paid ads. Like we're going to hire somebody, so we hired a marketing agency, and um, but all they did is they had the funnel, and they had 3 or 4 steps in the follow up, and it wasn't enough, and we knew that it wasn't enough, and when we analyzed it, the results spoke for themselves. Is
Yeah,
that once they started to get the audience dialed in, our cost per lead was really high, and we were losing people. If you think about a leaky bucket, that's the way I always look at it. There was just holes all throughout that and the back end,
yeah,
and we had that. We basically had a meeting internally with that team. Right, it was an agency that we had hired, and again, good, but not the full system. And we kind of brought up all of our concerns, like why aren't we using, right, a full-fledged system that has the automations built in it? Why don't we have our setter kind of following along each step and and plugging the holes? And we knew enough, and we're different that I guess because we've done a lot of things and failed, especially in some of our other businesses on acquisition, that we knew what to look for. So anybody out there that doesn't, then I'm giving
Yeah.
you a bunch of things to look for.
Yeah. It's funny you're asking them those questions, and those are the best practices and things they should be doing. But
Right. Right. So we knew, and believe me, we didn't even cover all the things that you guys cover. We just knew that, hey, we learned through our technology, right? Watching a lot of people buy our data and on in our other business and run campaigns, how how much multi communication mattered, and they would all tell us, you can't believe how much DMs are working off of the follow ups, and we were like, wait a minute, how can we have an acquisition system that doesn't have DMs in it, right? Which we did,
right.
right? We basically had opt-ins and email, and then if they gave us the phone number, we would call them. It was such a half-hearted system that, and we knew that we needed a bunch of holes plugged. And again, your
Yeah.
system came in and did exactly that.
So what were you looking at like when you made that decision of like, okay, this isn't working, I need to
Yeah,
go find something else? Like
yeah.
what
So
other
we,
options were you looking at? And then I guess that's number one. And then I guess number two is like what separated us apart from them, and then what made you want to pull the trigger?
yeah, so that's a really good question. So we were looking across. Yeah, and again, I'm not going to give out a couple of the competitors, but we were
Yeah, yeah,
looking
100%.
for full-fledged acquisition systems, and we were looking at that, comparing that against marketing agencies that said that they could, basically do acquisition, and a few um, agency. I don't know if they're coaching programs or what they masterminds that had the SOPs. And I thought, oh, well, if I have the SOPs, the right SOPs, I could hand that over to one of our partner agencies and have them implement all these things, right? The problem is I really just wanted to buy a full done system, soup to nuts, that had all of that, right,
Yeah.
for acquisition. I wasn't worried about the fulfillment. We already had that dialed in. And my fulfillment team, by the way, they were raising their hands and saying, we want to do your acquisition. I'm like, no, because it's different than what we're doing on the client side. And so it was probably a combination of some agency programs out there. Again, we weren't. I was new to the agency space this way. I didn't really want to do that because it's more like coaching. I'm not. It was more go learn it, right? I didn't want to do that. Two was the marketing agencies that said that they could do it, but when we asked them all the questions, like, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? They didn't. Right. So then I said, I got to find an acquisition system. And again, this is where I think Facebook listens, because every time I did, that's the first time I saw conversion lead. And once I had my, first conversation with one of your sales guys, I was like, and I asked them all the questions. Like, yeah, that's exactly what we do. I was like, yeah, all right, we need to do this.
Yeah. Yeah. Was there any fear or any things that you were maybe thinking about like when you were trying to make that decision to pull the
No,
trigger?
you know what you guys did a great job. What is the one, your stat sheet, to me? Anybody that doesn't understand that, you need to go back and read that. That stat sheet is gold, right? That means that you've run
Mm,
enough campaigns through your clients that you have the ability to garner those stats, right?
yeah.
That was very impressive to us. And then two is that when you walked us through in one of your videos, and again, this is all free stuff that you were giving out there, but when you walked us through that to where you said, hey, if you follow our system, you can get your opt-in rate to a 40% book rate. I went, gets game over, because I'll
Oh
pay
yeah.
whatever for opt-ins, because I know what my cost and my LTV are,
Yeah.
right? At 15K, and I have clients for 3 years, right? I can afford to pay a lot for a customer. And when I was thinking about that, I know we're not going to, and we're not now, right? But I knew that I could overpay if I needed to, just knowing your numbers. And then, but what resonated to me was the 40%. And again, we're not quite there, but we're trending there and we'll get there. So I have
Yeah.
full faith in this.
Yeah, that's the KPI. That's where you want to be at. And
Yeah.
for anyone who doesn't know what Brent's talking about, lead to booked appointment rate, our average for us and then our clients are anywhere between 30 to 40%.
Yeah.
And funny story, we were actually on a call with a guy that's very big in the media buying space and has done a lot of media buying and ad buying for a lot of the big guys that you would know if Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, Dean
Yep.
Graziosi, ClickFunnels, like all the big guys. He's like, listen, we were kind of walking him through. We were on a consulting call about something else, and he was asking a bunch of questions. And he's like, listen, guys, I've seen the back end of all the big guys. I've seen all their numbers. The average, like on just in general, like and someone who's doing really good on average is like lead to booked appointment rate about 12 to 18%.
That's about right. And we weren't even
Yeah.
that. We weren't even close to that. We were like under 10%. I know before we met you guys.
And he was like, if you got like 30 to 40%, that's incredible.
It
And he
is.
said mostly those guys, when they're running sales teams, their show up rates like 50%.
Yeah.
And then we've been able to get ours to like a 70, 75%. Right.
Yep.
So if you know those numbers, the 3 KPIs that you want to meet is lead to booked appointment rate, 30, 40%, show up rate. So from appointment to actually showing up on a sales call, 70, 75% or above. And then
We're well over 70% there. Yep.
exactly. And then the
Yeah.
close rate, you want that to be over 20%. If you can hit all those numbers,
Yeah.
it really all it comes down to is just getting more people into the funnel and then you're scaling at that
And you
point.
know what's great, Justin? That's where we're at. So the only number that we're still working on is getting our opt-in to booked appointment up, but our conversion rate, our show up rate is like I think it's over 75%,
That's
and
awesome.
our close rate is like over 50% because of our guarantee, right?
Your offer. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our offer's phenomenal, right? Not everyone's going to be there, and I wouldn't sweat that because like you're still going to make a ton of money. Yeah, but if we get that once we get that opt-in rate, we're going to hammer down the top of the funnel, and we're going to add as many channels as possible. But that then we know the back end's dialed in, and this is how we fix the whole other parts of our business, right? And now this is the last step of acquisition, and it should have been for us. I know a lot of people start there and another business I would, but this business we had to fix first,
Yeah.
right? And because you can fix it when you have cash coming in on acquisition, you can fix a lot of problems.
You can.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he's a very successful guy, and he's like, I don't know, man. He's just like everything, like success doesn't excite me anymore. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, really, all it is. Right. This is a very successful guy,
yeah,
and he was like, really, all it is analyzation, capital, and execution. And I was
100%. He's not wrong.
yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
You're not wrong. That's an
Yeah,
interesting point. One thing though that I would say is when you're going through that optimization phase, like
yeah,
you said, like all your numbers make sense except for that one. Like it will take time
yeah.
to dial all those in.
And,
I was
and
talking
that's
to
what
a
I
client
put
the other
when
day,
we
and
were
she was like,
talking, right? That's what I put in there is that you got to have some patience there because that
"Yeah,
is dialing in the audience, and a lot of times you have no control of that on the ad platforms. That just takes a little time to dial in, but that'll get there. Like I'm not concerned at all about that.
yeah." I was talking to a client the other day. She's like, my numbers just aren't there. I'm doing all the things that you guys are asking me to do. Like, what? And it's just a newer business with a
Yeah,
newer offer.
yeah,
And I was like, listen, you're doing all the things that you should be doing, right? It's just you just have to figure it out. Like, we're running the exact same system that we give all of our clients, and the reason why it's so successful for us is because we've been doing this for 4+ years. And sometimes you just got to go through the suck.
yeah.
We've been through all the
Absolutely.
suck and dialing things in. And then once it starts to hit, then like you have if you're hitting those 3 KPIs, it's pretty easy to scale from there.
Yeah, and you know what? I should have led with that because that was one of the other things that uh, the first person I talked to, one of your sales guys, I can't remember his name, but he was great, and he goes, "We use the same system that we're telling you you're going to use," and I said, "I love that. You're eating your own dog food, right? So to
Oh,
speak."
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I don't
So
know if you said dog poop or dog food.
dog food. Food.
Okay, I was like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's poop, but
No, no, dog food. Sorry about that. Yeah.
so before we kind of dive into the nitty gritty, the results and stuff like that,
Yeah.
walk me through like once you pull the trigger, like going through the onboarding process. What was that like for you? What like before like everything started going
Yeah.
and dialing in.
I got to tell you, it was a lot of pulling things together in the onboard sheet, right?
Yeah,
But every piece of that information led to a different piece of the system in my mind, and it was all necessary to dial in and make the tweaks to the offer and the copy. And
yeah,
so thinking through that was again, it's painful to do that no matter what. But if you don't go through that, I don't know how you write compelling code, right? Or compelling copy. I'm sorry.
yeah.
And for you all is giving your team. It was like almost a transfer of knowledge of, hey, this is everything we know about the industry. Here's all the things that we're seeing, and we put that into that sheet. And then your team was able to say, yeah, this offer makes a lot of sense. And luckily, we had already tweaked that, but I, I think even if we didn't have the 10x, we would have came up with a really compelling offer based on all the info we put into that sheet. And then right after that, it was jumping in, and we hired a couple setters
Yeah.
and to run the system, and we love our setters. So
Yeah, that I think the biggest thing, like one of the biggest things that we do is, when we get on that offer development call,
mhm.
is like all that stuff that you come through, it helps you. Like even clients who have a successful business, when they go through that exercise, they're like, "Oh, I'm leaving so much on the table right now just because of, I can level up my offer just from going through this little exercise in this
Heck
process."
yeah,
And then they get even more of the market share because of
right.
their offer just levels up after that.
Well, and not only that, Justin, I think that we're actually, when we get another month or two down the road, we're probably going to go back to that sheet and do it
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
And the reason is because we know we can keep leveling up. The more knowledge we gain from our sales conversations, right, from our feedback of our conversations within high level, all that kind of stuff, we can feed back into there and refine that even more.
I go through that sheet every quarter.
Yeah,
I
it's
have it like
really
it's on
smart.
my calendar is to review, the market, see what everyone's doing, and seeing what we need to change and how we need to continually, just add more value and just be better as a company.
Amen. Amen.
Right. And another thing that I do want to, kind of talk about is, like going through that sheet will allow you to just really will allow our, team, just anybody really just kind of diving in your offer, figuring out who your prospects are, what their pain points are, all that good stuff. That's how you separate yourselves from the people who are just okay at running ads.
Yeah.
Maybe you've tried ads in the past and it's like, yeah, ads didn't really work for me. And it's really kind of comes down to two things. Like one is like the targeting and like all the technical mumbo jumbo on the back end. That
Yep.
really doesn't have too much to play, because what we're seeing is like if you just give Facebook like a free reign, like open up the targeting and let the algorithm kind of do the work, then it's
Yep.
going to find the right people. Then
It
what it
will.
really comes down to is the second thing is what I feel like is the most important thing is like compelling copy, compelling creative on the ad. And then when someone like Brett, if an HVAC company comes through and looks at an ad that the offer's good, the copy is great, the creative looks fantastic, they click that ad, they go through the like, oh, I want to talk to Brett about this,
Yeah.
right? That's where you separate yourself from the competition who are just running like okay ads, or maybe ads that you like written yourself and are just like, Facebook ad doesn't work for me, right?
Yeah. Totally agree. I couldn't agree more. We always said that, it's your success and your results. If all things being equal, if you're running on, let's say it's Facebook, right? And you're running against five competitors, right? They're all going to, all your competitor or your potential clients are going to see those ads, right? One
Mhm.
at one time or another. So the question is, how am I going to stand out, right? Which is your offer, and two is how good is your funnel, right? And so if you have the worst of the five, you shouldn't expect that you're going to get the best results, right? So
Right.
doing your
Yeah.
due diligence, right, of what's out there and what else they're seeing. But two, making sure that you really dig into that sheet. Like I love that. We'll probably do that quarterly because that really makes a lot of sense. Is going back to
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and refining all, even if it's just little parts of it. It feeds into the creatives. It feeds into the
Yeah.
funnel copy, the landing page, all the follow ups, and please with with tools like Jasper and Chat GPT out there, if you can't rewrite some copy once in a while, then you're just out of your mind. At least to get some ideas, right? But the
100%.
thing is, going back to your team, right, and feeding that back to them, that transfer of knowledge is huge, right? Because again, I look at this as a partnership. You're only as good as the stuff I give you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, we kind of know like the nuances of like, hey, this has worked in the past, this has not worked in the past, but
yeah,
that really separates yourself from the competitors because I promise you, like you and anyone listening, like your prospects, the people you're talking to who are in your sales funnel, in your pipeline, you're
yep,
not the only company that they're talking to, right?
absolutely. Yep.
So how are you separating yourselves and how are you leveling yourselves up and just doing the things that you need to do, like running profitable campaigns or, getting the copy and getting the ad creative to like where it looks good. And you're getting a lot of that, because there's people out there that are looking for your service. You just got
No
to get a
doubt
little
about it.
piece of that pie,
Right.
right? You got to get a little piece of the pie in a way that gets them to click, book an appointment, and have a conversation with you, right?
Yeah.
Because if you could just have more at bats, if you're good on the sales process, then you just have more conversations with people and you just close more deals, and that's how you're increasing the revenue.
Yep.
So, speaking about revenue, let's talk about how long has it been since you started, Brent?
Um, it's probably been it's only been a couple months,
Okay.
and again, we're only coming up on uh, I guess the end of the first 30 days of getting our KPIs dialed in, and we're already closing deals. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So, talk to me about the results so far. The
yeah,
ads launched, I think it was what 3-4 weeks ago,
oh
right? There was
yeah,
obviously a little bit of ramp up
yeah.
time
We're
for
in
our
phase
team to
four right
build
now.
everything.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we just started phase four. So yeah, we're just about done and ready to put the gas pedal down. Um, we've already closed 3 deals. I think we got 2 more in contract pending already.
That's
So,
awesome.
at our price points, right? And again, I don't know. I'd have to go back, but almost most of our deals are 15K. Once in a while, we'll give someone a downsell and let them try for half the time because we know within 2 weeks we're coming back to them for another 7,500. But probably somewhere in the 60-75K already
That's awesome.
in new revenue. So
Yeah. Just about four
and I
weeks.
know it's going to
Right.
go bananas from here.
Yeah. So the thing, and I was talking to someone about this the other day, is when you're just first starting out, there's going to be people who come through your sales process,
Mhm.
quickly book an appointment, get on a call with you, and then quickly make a decision.
Yep.
That's going to be a small percentage of people.
Right.
Maybe it's less than 20%. Now,
Yep.
80% of people are going to go through, click on the ad. They maybe like get distracted. You send them a bunch of follow up messages if you have that,
Right.
right?
If you have it. Right.
If you have that, and if they're good,
Right.
and then they click on, one of the follow or respond to a follow up messages, then they book a time, and then they go through like you pitch them, and then maybe they got to think about it. Maybe it's like, I got to wait for X, Y, and Z, and then that delays that for like a couple of weeks. So you just got to look at like your sales cycle. And so
Right.
for you, you've only been live for about 3 or 4 weeks now. As people go through that sales cycle, then deals are going to start coming in a little
Yeah.
bit more regular.
Right. It's like a snowball, right? It's very small in the beginning and it just keeps building, and that's how you build the momentum. And the best part is though all the pieces are in place for the follow up, the automations, and the tracking for us to continuously build that and improve depth. And so I think telling you when we were first talking is that, to me, like that's all on us. You guys build us the system, and now all we have to do is monitor, manage, and make sure that we're pushing more people through it, right?
Yeah.
And if we keep revisiting it and working with you guys that way, I don't know how we don't get to our goal by the end of the year. So
Yeah. And it's important that you said, like, and for people who don't know like what it is exactly that we do, right? So we help build client acquisition system customized to you, and then what we want to
Yeah.
do is run and optimize it for about 30 days, and then hand it over to you so that we're teaching you how to run it. And now you have this in-house client acquisition system that you own 100% of. And then
You're right.
eventually, like if you want to outsource the ad buying, or if you want to outsource, more creative and stuff like that, you can do that, but not because you don't know how. It's because
Right.
you have the system, but it's because of maybe you have better things to do with your time, like being a CEO of the business, or whatever it may
Right.
be,
Right.
right? And so I think it's a lot different from a marketing agency that's just running ads, because a lot of marketing agencies, what they do is they just focus on the lead gen part, right? They don't do all the the second level and the third level of like what really books appointments. And it's a
A
lot
hundred
different.
percent.
Right. And it's a lot different from like maybe a course, or like a mastermind, or, a coach or consultant or someone like that, that I feel like really doesn't have a business. It's just like, hey, watch these videos. And like you said, that SOP company, right? Like, hey, watch
Right.
these videos and you can kind of do it on your own. And, we're,
Right.
we're here for you. Hop on one call a week and, we'll kind of tell you what to do. Right.
Yeah.
And
The way I do
versus like having
conversion
someone
is,
actually build it and customize it specifically for you, and who's
yeah.
worked with hundreds of businesses to be able to kind of dial that in.
Yeah.
So that's how I feel like, just a little bit different in the marketplace. And that's why I look at
Very
things
different.
every quarter to try to figure out what we can do to add more value.
Yeah, the way I look at it, Justin, is what Conversionly does is they, like you just said, you're installing a system, an acquisition system, into our business. But not only that, you're with us, teaching us how to operate it, and then when it's time, it's like, okay, now it's yours. Now
Mhm.
I know we can still do things with you and your team, and I know our team will, beyond that, right? To take that further, but that doesn't exist in the marketplace, as far as not that I have seen,
Mm.
where you're installing an actual system, right? This is not like, hey, we'll show you how to do it. This
Yeah.
is, you're really setting it up, showing us how to operate it, and then letting us run with it. And to me, that's exactly what I was looking for.
Yeah. What do you feel like is, I guess, for anyone listening, what do you feel like was the most valuable part of going, like having gone through the process and seeing results, and like so far, like what do you feel like is the most valuable part, or, one or two or three things?
Yeah, there's three or four things. Like, honestly, we have, we kind of, you were talking about it earlier, but the setters have a playbook, a daily playbook, right? This is a day in the life of what the setter needs to be doing, right? And that, our setters meet every day with our sales team, and so they're in lockstep of, here's what's coming through. We look at the, what's in the pipeline, what are our opportunities. So, yeah, the system for, your appointment center, uh, huge. Obviously, all of the follow-ups that are done, and the cadence that is laid out. Again, that's why I love the stat sheet. Is, hey, we're going to touch them 12 times throughout 30 days, right? And here's all the cadence of how it's done, and it's all well thought out in the fact that it's, certain days have been known to get better results, and that's the level in which you can really dial the system in. Um, and then I like I said, I go back to that exercise of filling the intake form out was just unbelievable, right? It just, there's so much great things that can come out to get conversions through that, will make that happen.
Yeah. So as we wrap up here, one last question that I have. There's a lot of people who come through, hear what we say, hear what we have to, maybe offer, and they're like, you know what, that sounds really, really good. But in the back of their mind, they're fearful. Maybe they've tried something like this in the past, and it just hasn't worked. And maybe they're thinking, okay, well, there's probably a reason of why it wouldn't work for me, right? So it's just like uncertainty. So for those anyone out there that's like that, Brent, what would you say to that person?
I would say, no matter if you try something else, I would guarantee you it doesn't have anywhere close to the, um, patches in the system that Conversionly does. And what I mean by that is, I don't think you'll find a more comprehensive system that out there. At least I haven't found one that comes close to this. And so, if you want to put your chances of getting appointments with someone that just has a piece of this, I, I like I don't know how that would be more successful than doing this, and especially this is a very affordable program for what what we're getting out of it,
Mm.
and if you're going to put a system and if you're serious about running a company, right? You need a real acquisition system, and to me, this is it. This is the the best of breed.
Yeah, I think like to your point, like speaking on the value, I mean, whether it's with our company or whatever company, I just think having a system, a client acquisition system that actually works, that
100%.
you can put leads into, that generates appointments and you're actually closing those deals. I mean, regardless of the price tag, that's almost invaluable. You can't really
It's
put a
not because
price
you
on
make
that.
the yeah. It's not.
Can't really put a price on that because like having a system where you can get clients out, it's almost unlimited. Obviously, you got to stay on top of the trends and like
Yeah,
market nuances and all that stuff. I mean that goes with anything,
it goes with
but
anything, right?
it's almost
But I would say if you
invaluable.
can't buy a customer, Justin, like then you don't really have a business. If you're telling me that your business is on referrals or something else, you have to be able to take a customer from a stranger to a prospect. And the only way you do that is to have an acquisition system that books an appointment, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
to me, that's exactly what you guys do, and you do it really well. And it's why we're so confident in our hitting our goals this year.
yeah. Well, Brent, and I'm looking forward to working with you in the next couple of months, kind of really dialing this in. You have a great business, great offer. It's always nice to have clients like you. So I think that's about it, man. Let's go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Thank you for your time. I really do
Yeah,
appreciate it. It was a
anytime.
pleasure talking to you. And
You as
sorry
well.
I took you away from the expert call today that happens
Yeah,
to be at the same time. So
yeah. That's
yeah,
all right.
all good.
That's all right. We'll get with David later.
Yeah, yeah. We'll add in another one. We'll add in another
Yeah,
one.
exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
Brent.
Anyway,
Thank you. I
Justin, thank
appreciate
you.
it,
It was
man.
a
I'm gonna go ahead
pleasure.
and end the call, and
Yeah.
I'll see you later.